Good morning. We are live on a Monday morning edition of Coffee with Rich. And this morning I'm joined for the first time by my partner in crime, Mr. Mike Seeklander. And while we're waiting for folks to jump on, Mike, let's pay the bills, pal.
Morning.
Let's talk about our amazing sponsors. And I'll talk first about Appalachian Standard. Appalachian Standard is makers of the finest CBD products money can possibly buy. My good friend Jesse Ross and his family over there in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina, are growing CBD. Actually, they're growing hemp and turning it into CBD. And they've got tincture, they've got salves, they've got flour. If you just want to smoke the flour, it's good for your joints, good for your cognitive ability, your memory. I find it helps me sleep better, etc. We got 10 folks joining us already. Mr. Seeklander, let's welcome Will Parker. Good morning, Will.
Will, good morning.
Benny is on.
Good morning,
Benny. So please check out apphemp.com and please check out the show notes. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Go to AmericanWarriorShow.com and you'll find links to all of our amazing sponsors. They help produce this show to you every single day. So, Mike, tell us about Precision Holsters.
Man, Precision Holsters is kind of the cat's meow in terms of holsters, as you know, Rich, and maybe some of the viewers right now know. We know Mr. John over at Precision, who's the CEO and is an alumni, and met me probably 5 or 6 years ago and brought me a holster to class and said, hey, check this out. This is the Ultra Appendix inside the waistband holster. Of course, I was carrying the appendix position. And the holster blew my mind. The design features, and even more specifically, how he approaches his holster design is very unique. There is a Seeklander signature line. If you want to check out the Seeklander signature line, I should have them laying around me, but I actually have them all in my holster bag in my truck from a class. But it's kind of got a cool flag motif. But Rich and I both use the competition holster, folks. So if you're looking for a fine holster, check out Precision Holsters, and their mag pouches are fantastic. They have a new rifle mag pouch they're coming out with. So great company, great folks.
Absolutely great folks. I'll talk about Mountain Man Medical. Mountain Man Medical and the American Warrior Society teamed up together to have a co-branded trauma kit. And just like you, Mike, I'm like, I should have it here, but I don't. You know why? Because it's in my truck where it can actually get used in case that I have something happen. But Mountain Man Medical, what they've done is they've taken affordability to the next level. They've got all the products you're used to, but they've put it in the most affordable package possible. Check out our co-branded kit, and it'll help keep you safer. Cool Fire Trainer, Mike, you've had that's another company you've had a long-term relationship with. Tell us about the Cool Fire Trainer.
Well, the interesting thing about Cool Fire was I got to know Cool Fire way before all of this ammo shortage happened. And folks, if you don't know what Cool Fire is a company that makes basically a replacement barrel and recoil spring that goes in your hand. So if you get all the different training solutions, airsoft or 22 or, utilizing the SIRT pistol or whatever else, Cool Fire kind of has those systems. I don't know if I would say beat is the right word, but they've developed a product that allows you to grab your pistol and replace the barrel and recoil spring and then fill it with compressed CO2 and dry fire, although they call it cool fire, with the pistol itself. So, it's your trigger, it's your sights, it feels exactly like your gun. It doesn't have that lightweight, airsoft kind of cheapy feel or whatever else. And man, if you're looking for a fantastic solution to train in your own home, we're coming into the winter time, so you want to work on your draw process. You want to holster up with that Ultra Appendix inside the waistband holster and work on some skills. Cool Fire is the way to go. And it's the only system that I know, Rich, that works on compressed gas where you can get multiple shots, So like, as you and I know, because we dry fire all the time when we're together doing training classes, you draw and get one click, which is fine. With Cool Fire, though, you can do a 5-shot drill. You can do 2 to the body, 2 to the head. You can do all kinds of stuff for pennies, literally on the dollar. No ammo spent. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're very cool. You could check out all of our amazing sponsors by going to AmericanWarriorShow.com. We have deep discounts for those that watch the American Warrior Show, which, by the way, is America's leading self-defense podcast. Thank you to the 15 folks that are with us this morning. And please like and hit that share button. I got one more sponsor to go, and then we'll get into the meat of today's show. And today's show is all meat, guys. And I'm just talking about the eye candy in front of you. I'm talking about the substance of what we're going to talk about. Uh,
Ooh, here.
yeah. Hope you guys are recovering from Halloween. But let's talk about Century Martial Arts, makers of the Bob XL, the Body Opponent Bag XL, which is going to take your strike game to the next level. It's going to take your shoot game to the next level. It's going to be an amazing training tool, just like all the tools that we talked about this morning. So please check out the Bob XL. I got Bob is a big humanoid staring at me this morning, challenging me. Bob is an amazing tool. You can do a lot with Bob. He's a three-dimensional target. He's a strike opponent. He's a grappling opponent. He does it all, folks, and he doesn't complain. So
I nicknamed my Bob Rich.
why would you do that? I don't understand.
No, just do. When I'm hitting Rich, I'm working my strikes, knees, elbows, full contact stuff. I name my Bob Rich. Big letters on his chest.
But
Rich.
must be a different Rich, not me, of course.
Oh no, you. Of course not. Hey folks, like and share. We want like 100 live viewers on Coffee with Rich and Coffee with Mike this morning. So you got to share like 50 times. Go to the Training Addicts group. What other groups do we have? AWS Closed, Coin Members, ACSS, Training Addicts, and share us all over the interweb so we can have a bunch of live viewers this morning.
Absolutely. And without any further ado, I'm going to treat Mike just like he would be a guest, even though this is part his show too. But I'm going to read Mike's bio. Currently, Mike Seeklander is the owner of Shooting Performance LLC, a full-service training company, as well as the American Warrior Society. Mike is also the co-host of the Best Defense, the Outdoor Channel's leading firearms instructional show. Previously, Mike was Chief Operations Officer, Director of Training, and Senior Instructor at the United States Shooting Academy in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was directly responsible for the development of all U.S.S.A. training programs. Prior to that, as an employee of the federal government, Mike has served as the branch chief and lead instructor for the Firearms Division with the Federal Air Marshal Service, as well as senior instructor at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, FLETC. He has extensive formal training and experience in all phases of military and law enforcement training. Mike is a highly sought-after technical and competitive trainer and a high-level performer on the competitive handgun circuit. Currently a nationally ranked competitor in the practical handgun competition circuit, Mike Seeklander has authored and produced instructional books, DVD, and has developed hundreds of lesson plans specifically related to basic and advanced firearms training. As a local law enforcement officer with the Knox County Sheriff's Department, as well as the Knoxville City Police Department, Mike worked in corrections as well as patrol and the Organized Crime Division. In 1990, Mike joined the United States Marine Corps and was trained as an intelligence specialist with a top secret clearance. Mike is also a combat veteran of Desert Storm, Desert Shield. He holds secondary MOSs in combat engineers and primary marksmanship instructor. Mike is the recipient of numerous awards and honors in the law enforcement community, and as a professional shooter, his shooting accomplishments are too numerous to list here today. Having competed in the shooting sports nationally, Mike adds to his experience with more than 15 years in various martial arts, holding multiple ranks, including a black belt in Okinawan freestyle karate, and I believe a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, Mike, welcome to Coffee with Rich.
Thanks for having me, man. It only took me, 2-3 years to finally get an invite. So here I am. Welcome to the show, guys. Hey, hi.
You're a hard man to get on the show, man. You're harder than some of the other people I have to get on.
I know, man. Look at all the folks on, man. Betty and Brett, Alan, Shara. Geez, wow. Look at all these folks. Nice to see everybody this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, folks. Hit that share button. We're just going to get going. Mike, what is your bio Overlook?
Oh, man. To be honest, that was actually probably the most detailed bio I've ever done on a podcast. So that pretty much covers most of it. I mean, some of the things that are behind the scenes and the smaller issues that people maybe don't realize and notice are the things that you and I do together. For example, the FIDCs, all of the instructor development and curriculum we do, the material that it doesn't stand out as just, hey, this is the defensive handgun program, this is the competition handgun program. I am a very diverse person in terms of all the things I've done, not because I necessarily want to have 95 fires going at one time, as you and I both know. But I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't know about me and or us is, we we co-authored The Art of Instruction. We teach these instructor training programs all over the place to large federal agencies as well as local agencies and civilian groups. And we, I think, have a very strong passion for mentoring other instructors and developing the instructor community, which I think you would agree, Rich, needs the development, right? They certainly need to understand these structures we talk about. But other than that, man, I think you kind of knocked it out of the park. Hit me pretty well, I think.
Yeah, and I will attest to the fact that you've got like 120 things going at any one time. So you got a lot on your plate, man. Let's talk about, we're going to get to the instructor stuff because I think you're absolutely right. That's incredibly important. And I want to get your take on a lot of things going on in that community. But how did you talk to us about getting into martial arts and perhaps shooting, Mike?
So the story behind martial arts a long time ago, kind of interesting. I had a roommate in the barracks. I almost said dorm, wasn't dorm, with the barracks. When we were in the Marine Corps together, Rich and I were both in 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. And my roommate said, hey, I'm going to go train at this karate place. This particular roommate was not the one you're thinking of, Rich, but a different guy. And he said, hey, I'm gonna go train at this karate place tonight. You want to go check it out? So I did. And he took me out to the edge of Jacksonville, North Carolina, to this. Literally, we drove up and there's a shack. It's basically literally a shack. And introduced me to this guy named Tommy Mossman. And Tommy Mossman was a retired Marine. And we go into the dojo, which is a shack, and all of the walls had holes in them. They were all broken out. Like there was none of the drywall left. It was all broken out for people being kicked into the walls. And there were these big 4x4 posts outside with rope on them. And on class and day number 1, he taught us how to bow in. And he's in a gi, of course, with bare feet. We're in, I think, shorts. I don't think I had a gi at that point in time. And he leaves the dojo and says, let's go, and starts running. And the road next to the dojo is a dirt road. And then he runs with bare feet off the dirt road and onto the pavement and took us on a 2-mile run. And then through these fields and stuff with bare feet. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this. And he's like, yeah, we're going to toughen your feet up. It was Okinawan, his style of karate was Okinawan freestyle karate. So that led me to my interest in doing things hard. I have no idea. By the way, my roommate never went back. I stayed for years until I got my black belt under him. And then later on, Rich, you and I did judo, Aikido jiu-jitsu with Dr. Dan. We did a variety of styles to include BJJ, which is what I do on a regular basis now. More of an MMA style BJJ, but that's what I do now. Shooting, just kind of fell in love with it as a kid. Had an uncle or a so-called uncle that would show up at my house who was a police officer on a regular basis and used to bring his duty revolver, and that was the highlight of my year. When I got to shoot the revolver in this big dirt pit behind our house, and I just fell in love with handgun shooting and have been so ever since, man. We can go all the way down the story where I was shooting at a dirt bank or a snowbank outside my house and reloading 50 rounds every day. I think I've told you that story, Rich, but it's kind of neat. But I've been doing that for a while.
And as far as shooting accomplishments, man, like I said, I did not name all of your accomplishments in the shooting community, but give us some of the highlights if you would, brother.
Oh, so I guess highlights. I've won probably 50 plus state matches, 20 or 30 U.S.A. area matches. I have 2 backup gun national titles in IDPA, 2 other ESP titles, an ESP World Championship, Still Challenge Production Championship many years ago. I don't even know how many top 3 or 4 finishes in U.S.A. I've been on the Super Squad for the last almost 15 to 20 years, give or take. So, here's the deal. As some of you may know, some of you may see our new video series, A Bigger Circle. I compete with Rob Latham all the time. He's the most winning practical shooter. I've not had that same winning streak. It's not what I did full time, as you know, Rich. I started this whole thing because I wanted to be a better shooter. If we got into a special operations unit or into law enforcement, that was really my interest. Although I love to compete at the same time. So the whole goal was never to go win a bunch of national championships. Although later on I decided, man, that's really something that would be very cool for me. Because I've always worked full time, as you know, as a police officer and then a federal trainer and whatever else. So shooting has not been my full time gig. So I think I'm very fortunate to have reached the levels that maybe I have, especially for a boneheaded guy like me. So.
Dr. Fuller is on, says hello from South Carolina, coin number 1620. And if you want to know what a coin number is, please check out one of our other amazing sponsors. That is the company that Mike Seeklander and I own, which is the American Warrior Society.com, which is an amazing self-defense community. It has all of Mike's defensive content that he's ever put together. We've got everything from how to fight from inside of a vehicle, outside of a vehicle. We've got the Performance Enhancement Series. We've got less lethal weapons retention. Well, Mike and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, Christian Dare, will take you from white belt to blue belt. So everything is in there. Please check it out if you haven't already. Thank you to the 25 folks joining us.
Why do we have to call him Dr. Fuller? Why can't we just call him TC? I don't think he's a doctor. I mean, I haven't seen any proof he's a doctor. TC, you've never done any doctoring on me, man. I don't get it.
I think he could do some doctorate on you, all right. Jason is on, says, good morning from North Central Kansas, getting ready to head back to occupied Virginia this week. Our good friend Will Parker says the Bigger Circle video series is amazing, like you were there in person as a student.
Nice.
Now tell us about, as far as, you and I ended up working nightclubs for years as floorman, doorman, bouncer, whatever you want to call it. Why was that part of your journey, man?
That's a great question, actually. And I don't know if we've ever, we did do a podcast on our bouncing experiences. If you haven't listened to that podcast, it's pretty neat. Go back to it. So that's one of the old school podcasts. I don't know, probably low 200s. But my journey in bouncing, and I don't remember, I think I got hired first as a bouncer, if I remember correctly. But it was actually part of my Okinawan freestyle karate journey. So I had been promoted to brown belt in this full contact bare knuckle system. And my sensei said, I want you to go get some experience. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, Danielle, I think the guy named Danielle, trained with me. Freaking super tough guy, had fantastic skills, worked at this nightclub and called Club 108 and said, hey, I'll get you a job as a bouncer. I'll teach you a couple moves. And you're going to go deal with drunk Marines every Friday and Saturday night. And I did. And I got to utilize some of the things I was learning. And I got to the experience of learning what worked and what didn't work. And it was pretty fantastic experience for me. But that was it. That's where our journey. And then I think if I remember correctly, I might have got you hired, Rich. And then we spent, I don't know, 3 or 4 years working there. Then eventually you moved back to Tennessee. We worked the big nightclubs there, and I can honestly say, I mean, we've probably been in 150 scuffles, give or take, in the nightclubs or more. So,
yeah, I would definitely say probably more, and that's. I look back on that time with great fondness, and I learned a lot, as I know you did as well. Bob is on, says, good morning, gents. Coin number 2070 from Sacramento. John Jock says, good morning from Marylandistan. Coin number 308. That is awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
So as far as, joining the Marine Corps, I know you've talked about it previously, how you ended up joining the Marine Corps, but what were some of the key takeaways from your time as a Marine?
The Marine Corps was very unique in that. So the reason I joined the Marine Corps, and I don't know if we've talked about this either, but my dad was a Marine. So when I was a kid growing up, I thought I wanted to join the military, right? And bottom line was, I'm like, Dad, well, who's the toughest out there, right? And I know if you're all you Army guys and Navy guys and whoever else is on right now, remember, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. So tough is a relative term. So who's the tough? Well, the Marines are the toughest, of course, son. I'm like, well, I want to be in the Special Forces and the Marines. What is that? He said, well, that's going to be Force Recon. It's going to be the hardest and the toughest. And I know they all have different missions, so don't quote me on that. But that was the bottom line. I'm like, okay, it's going to be the hardest and toughest. That's what I want to do. No idea why I chose the hardest and toughest. In hindsight, as now a slightly older man, I think I probably should have joined the Air Force, and I'd be piloting, some sort of drone somewhere, knocking people out of buildings. But the takeaways were just the structure that you join the Marine Corps or any military service, and you become a young man or young woman. You grow up. You're kind of weaned off your parents' love and affection and warmth, and you realize who you are. And I was, at a very unique time. I joined the Marine Corps in boot camp. Right after boot camp, went to what we called MCT, Marine Combat Training. And in MCT, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. So it was like, wow, we're going to war, and literally I went from MCT to my intel school in Damnick, Virginia, and I graduated top 3. So I got my choice of units. So I asked them which unit is deployed or going to be deployed. I want to go to the desert. And they said, well, you can go to 2-2. And I did. And met 2-2 in the desert, where of course I met Mr. Rich Brown and a couple other folks. So Rich, you had been in the Marine Corps for a year or two before me, so you got to work through I don't know what I guess Garrison Marine Corps, Admin Marine Corps, where everything was just rules and training. And I went straight from my primary school to a combat environment where I had actual grenades, live ammo. I remember leaving Desert Storm and Shield, getting ready to get sent home, and them going, if you get caught with one round on you, we'll court-martial you. I'm like, what? I just had grenades in my pockets. What are you talking about? Court-martial. So, yeah, that was a long-winded answer. I'm not sure if I answered your question. So.
It was a great answer, man. And that's true. Having already had a deployment under my belt, this was just a different experience, but the transition coming out of it was probably more seamless for me, and then not so much for you, who get thrown right into it. And I remember, when bumping into you for the first time in the Combat Operations Center, which sounds sexy. It sounds like something you'd see in a Tom Clancy movie. It's a couple of Humvees backed in together with a caminet thrown over the top, and some dry erase boards and crap. It's a mess. And I'm like, who's this freaking PFC, man? Why'd they let this boot inside our COC?
That was me. I was pretty back then as well.
Greg is on. Let's see. He's coin number 2060. He says, good morning. Glad to see Mike. Mark Few is on. Good morning, Mark. He says, good morning, Rich and Mike.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Mark. Good morning.
TC says, I was headed to a nice, comfy gig as an infantryman in the Berlin Brigade, landed in Germany, got diverted, and found myself in that damn desert. Yeah, so it's amazing how many of us that know each other now, we're all in the same sandbox together.
Yeah.
Rex says, good morning, gentlemen. We got 30 folks watching us live, Mike. Let's see if we can hit that share button. Man, I'm just getting going with this guy. I want to talk about instructorship now, Mike. You've got freaking over 2 decades of full-time professional instructorship under your belt, man. What makes a great instructor?
Yeah. Hey, folks, before I answer, click the share button. I want to boost the numbers. I want to hit record. What's your record, Rich, before I answer? The record, Rich,
I don't know. It's well over 100.
Well over 100 at a time. You got 100? Yeah. Okay, we have to beat 100 live viewers today. So I'm not going to answer. I'll just sit here and drink water and stare at the camera for a second while you click share, because I know the video pauses, and I used to do this a lot. Click share a couple times. Anyways, so let's talk about instructorship. We just taught a class to a big group, and that was one of my lead-ins. And I realized, we talked about it, I think, prior to the class. I realized I've been doing full-time instructing or mentoring instructors or curriculum development or something that relates to full-time instruction for over 20 years now. I got hired in December of 2001 by the Federal Air Marshal Service as a civilian instructor. So I was a civilian instructor before I became a credentialed FAM. And of course, that's, whatever it is, 20 years. So that's pretty amazing that I've actually been teaching full-time as an instructor or a lead instructor in some capacity, shape, or form. And I wasn't very good initially, so those of you that maybe do some instructing or know some instructors, I think that's one of the differences now that we talk a lot about to our students is, hey, anybody can get in front of a group and start talking, right? But a true professional instructor doesn't just have a body of knowledge, a deep body of knowledge, as the Gracies taught me, Horian Gracie many years ago. That was the key. But they have the ability to relay that information in some sort of structured manner. And they understand adult communication, which is another thing we talk about in the FIDC courses, which I'll promote the FIDC right now, folks. We're going to have probably 3 or 4 open enrollment FIDCs. If you have the opportunity to take that class, if it's close to you, it's low ammo, so you're not going to spend a bunch of ammo, but you will not find a better course. And ask the students that have been in it. Some of them that are online right now that are fans. They're going to say nice things about us. But I can tell you, we have a couple large agencies, one federal and one local, that have commented that it's some of the best instructor-related material they've ever seen, and these guys and gals are the best of the best. So for them to say that is I think, humbling. But it's been a long journey, man. I've learned a lot from it. I can't tell you that I always loved to be an instructor. If I had a choice, I probably would have been a full-time shooter for 20 years, full-time instructor. But I've learned more from instructing than I have from shooting, certainly.
And you say you've learned more from instructing than you have from shooting. Tell me what do you mean by that?
Yeah, because so here's the deal. I can pick up a gun, or I got a SIR pistol, and I can figure things out, right? I can shoot it and watch it and look at the recoil, or shoot a rifle and hit the target, and the target on the gun is going to tell me everything I need to know eventually, if I just take the time and experiment. But when I have to take that same material that I figured out and relay it to another human, it does something different to the human brain. They say that, I think that's the key takeaway in terms of like getting your black belt in martial arts. Someone once said it, Rich, you probably know, because you know everything about everything. You get your black belt, right? And that's the open door now to start to truly learn, because as a black belt, you'll probably be mentoring other students, right? So as an instructor, when you're having to think through the process of teaching the information that you have in your brain and frame it in a manner where students will truly learn it, that completely changes the game. So I have learned by far more from instructing shooting than I have from shooting itself, because I had to truly figure out what I was doing in order to relay that to students. And I think a lot of instructors miss that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a great point. Will says, love the FIDC. I learned so much in that class. And of course, Will has helped us facilitate that class quite a few times. As far as what makes a great instructor, I've asked that question to a lot of my guests, Mike, and I'll hear everything from passion, deep body of knowledge, great communication skills, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anything that you would point to as kind of like, these three things probably make a great instructor?
So we do that in our FIDC. We talk about this, and I'm going to be honest with you. Horian Gracie in the instructor training program at the Gracie Academy years ago, he used to run an instructor training program. So if you wanted to teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, you had to go through their instructor training program. You had to get your blue belt and be signed off on. I didn't make it all the way through their program because I got hired by the Knoxville Police Department. But he said during some of those sessions, a great instructor has to have an incredibly deep body of knowledge. And you only get that body of knowledge by doing things, by actually shooting or rolling or striking or driving. You have to do those things. And here, I think at the base, if we were to say this is the foundation, Rich, you do some side work in concrete, you have to have that deep body of knowledge and skill as your foundation. Without that, you will never be able to teach or instruct at the top at a higher level, because that's the bottom line. If you don't truly know it or can do it, you'll never be able to relay it. After that, you have to have all of the things that allow you to relay the material. So the foundation is the deep body of knowledge and skill. Now, above that become the communication skill sets we talk about. Of course, that includes passion, the ability to be a good actor, the understanding of how to communicate things to humans, how they learn, how they don't learn. That's your conduit to relay the information to the student in some sort of a manner or form. I know I didn't pick three things specifically, but I would tell you that I just think that body of knowledge and skill is such a foundation, because you can learn almost everything else. You say it, I think I'll quote you, you can't buy skill. So if I show up in front of a bunch of students and I don't have skill, I can't buy it, I can't fake it, I can't mimic it. It has to exist. But if I have skill, I promise you those students will want to listen to what I have to say, even if I'm not saying it in the best manner. Like maybe I haven't perfected my delivery, they'll still want to learn some things from me.
Yeah, totally agree with that, man. And there's a lot there that we'll unpack. But before we do that, hit that share button, folks. Tony says, thought we were going to talk about the Federal Reserve with Will today. Who's this guy? Tony. Yeah. So Will, his flight schedule, he's a commercial airline pilot, captain for a commercial airline, and his schedule is a little off. So we'll have him back on next Friday to pick up where we left off, talking about some economic challenges our country is facing. Manhar is on from South Africa. Good morning, sir. Hope you're safe.
Hey, Manhar. Wow, that's nice. Cool.
Alan says, a few years ago, flipping through the interwebs, I saw Mike doing the dry fire challenge, realized this dude knows what he's doing and is the real thing. Joined the American Warrior Society and was one of the best things I've done. Met Rich along the way, super individuals and organizations. Thank you so much, Alan, for that endorsement. Really appreciate that. Greg says, clarity of kind, as I have seen with Mike's video training. And TC says, experiential learning is critical for adult learners, especially for physical skills. It's really tough to talk someone into being able to shoot a free throw, for example. Yeah, and that's true, man. You cannot, there's certain things that you cannot learn from reading. You know, we talk about this in our firearms instructor development course, and that is, you know, this idea of we're trying to teach the student tacit knowledge so that they can implement a skill. And I cannot teach you how to swim if you read a book. So you're going to have to get out on the line. And that's one of the things that even in this group of this federal group we did recently, Mike, several of the students, and again, like you said, these are the best of the best. And they're like, man, the coaching block that Mike did on Wednesday for hours are things that I would never have learned before. How to coach a student to get their shots on target. And I'm like, really? You know, you come to this level and nobody ever showed you some of these techniques. It's mind blowing. If they're not getting it, then who is, you know?
I agree, man. You know, here's the interesting thing about that is you have to spend the time, like I said, this body of knowledge. If you don't spend the time doing the thing you're trying to teach, there's no way you could possibly explore the details of it. You know, I just don't understand. I don't understand the instructors out there that can't perform at a decent level. And I'm not saying every instructor, you know, make sure I'm being clear here. I'm not saying all instructors have to be anywhere near maybe as good as I can shoot a handgun or rifle, or and you could be better. Some of you probably are better, but you need to have a decent level of skill. If you're teaching a group of 20 students, you should probably be as good as most of those 20, if not better than most of those 20. And I'm not saying that you can't teach something if you're not as good as those folks, but we talk about this in the class as well. I tell all my instructor candidates this: the only thing that separates you from skill, having more skill, is time and work. You have the time, turn the TV off, you know, get off social media, put your gun on and go out and dry fire. If at a minimum, if nothing else, you can acquire a bunch of skill just dry firing and handling the firearm. You know, there's always a way if you're willing to walk down that path, you know.
What's the best piece of advice you could give to a new instructor out there?
A new instructor, man, don't rush into wanting to be an instructor. Here's the deal. Develop the skill first, or start to develop your skills right now. After this live show is over, or you watch this on YouTube or wherever else, it's okay, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to get on Amazon and I'm going to order 3 or 4 books in the subject I'm trying to teach. And then I'm going to schedule some time to develop that skill. And then, you know, go to an instructor course, go to a bunch of classes. Like before I professionally instructed, I had trained with probably every top level instructor out there. There was a defensive or tactical shooter instructor or competitive. So I had been to 20, 30 classes with all of the top individuals because I wanted to see what they knew and what they taught. And then, you know, from there, just kind of let your evolution take place in time and teach when you're ready to teach. I think we see a lot of instructors like, I want to start an instructing business. I want to start a firearms training business. And they don't have a lot of skill. They should spend probably more time developing that skill and that knowledge base, and maybe wait a little longer so they could truly relay, you know, what their students deserve to have relayed to them, versus just guessing their way through things. You know, so I would tell you, get on the path for a while. There's a great speaker I heard recently. He said, if you really want to be good at something, you got to look at your E ratios, your E versus E, your education versus your entertainment ratio. So if your entertainment ratio and the crap you watch on social media or the TV that's worthless is bigger than your education ratio, you got something going on. So we need to change those ratios. The education ratio needs to be bigger than your entertainment ratio. So what's your E versus E ratio? Ask that and adjust it accordingly, so.
Yeah, I think that might surprise people that don't know us well, and that is that we do read a tremendous amount of books. And on that topic, I think you almost alluded to it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're talking about the first thing you should do is get a lot of books on the subject that you want to teach, right? And I think that is so important. But I'm going to take that one step further. For example, let's say you want to read Charles Murray's The Bell Curve, right? Then that's great. Read that. But then also read Stephen Jay Gould's book on the mismeasurement of man, which is a critical critique from another very learned guy on that material. So my point of saying that is you're looking at the material from all sides and getting so that when a student challenges that information, you're able to speak on it intelligently because you've already looked at it from the other side. And I think that's one of the things that you do, because the students will ask you, well, what's better, Mike, the slingshot method or the overhand method? And I think you handle those really, really well when you get those kind of questions.
I think you're exactly right. I think as an instructor, you have to challenge everything. Like I don't make the assumption that what I'm doing is the right way to do it at all. I never make that assumption. I'm always looking for a better way. You have to challenge everything you do. And I think the instructors that get pigeonholed into one thing as the only thing, they've never really taken the time to explore the thing. One of the things that I've done over years is explore what is behind a technique. Like, if you're telling me this, why are you telling me this? What's the knowledge there? I used to label my instructors. There are the repeaters and there are the explorers. The repeaters, the parrots, they just repeat what they've heard. They teach the same thing they heard, and they teach it the same way with the same words, because they don't really know what's behind the words. The explorers are actually exploring things. They're the ones that'll go, why are we doing that? Why are we teaching that? Let's explore that. And then maybe in the end they find, oh, okay, we're teaching it because this is the best way to get this information across to thousands of new recruits, or this is the best way to do this based on our environment. But I really would encourage anybody that's teaching it, and you all are instructors. If you're watching this, you're going, well, Mike, I'm not an instructor. Sure you are. If you're going to teach your grandkids something, you're going to teach your spouse something, you're going to teach a friend a quick tip on pulling the trigger, whatever, you're an instructor. So be an explorer. Explore and question everything. And it increases or enhances that deep body of knowledge so you can truly articulate, what you're talking about. Like, we just had a student in class ask me a question in the class, Mike, what about this technique? And it was about a rifle transition. And in class, I was like, well, I don't know. I don't do that, and I don't do it for that reason, but let me try it. And I tried it. And I'm like, well, that's pretty efficient. That works for me. I don't see any downside to that. And I don't get tied to things as an instructor. Open your mind up and explore things.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's one of the things that, the ability to evolve and not be pigeonholed into anything. Esteban asked the question, Mike, he says, what are a few books you would recommend I order?
Wow. Am I allowed to say my own books?
Sure.
Yeah. No, seriously, man, if you look behind me, you can't see both my bookshelves. There's one to my right, one to my left. That's not all of them. There's also one over there, and there's one upstairs. I think if it's been written about firearms instruction, I probably own it. So I don't know if I would limit. Certainly, Esteban, if you don't have mine, I would have to promote them because I think they're broken down in a systematic, logical manner. And if you're interested in instructing and you don't have The Art of Instruction, I think The Art of Instruction is one of those hidden gem books out there that sells really well on Amazon or whatever else, but I almost never promote it. I don't know why we don't. Rich co-wrote it with me, or wrote a couple chapters and helped edit it, so he's got a big part of that. I think it's a fantastic book. I think we're talking about revising it this winter. So look at The Art of Instruction. It's about firearms instruction specifically that I've learned over the last 15 or 20 years. The second I would look at is just, get on Amazon and search what you're interested in teaching. Defensive handgun, tactical handgun, competition handgun, and buy 10 books. There's no reason not to. They're cheap. You can't have too much. And I would start there.
Yeah, and Jesse says, I can confirm the art of instruction by Mike Seeklander is extremely helpful. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. Good morning, Jesse. How are you, buddy?
What's the best piece of shooting advice you ever got, Mike?
The best piece of shooting advice I ever got. Boy, that's a great question, man. I've got a lot of shooting advice from a lot of people in a lot of different circumstances.
What about that piece of advice I gave you one time? Don't suck. Did that help
I
you?
don't remember that one, to be honest. I don't think you've ever given me any advice at all, unless it's some sort of useless encyclopedic advice that you memorized from a book that you probably shouldn't have been reading when you should have been dry firing.
Huh.
No, maybe don't complicate it. Don't make it harder than it is. Shooting a gun, we talk about this at length in my classes now. You literally we're doing three things, and it doesn't matter what gun you're shooting. We stop the gun on target, we verify alignment, and we fire the gun without moving. That's all it is, right? So if you remind yourself of that when you're having a problem or you're unable to solve a shooting solution, think about those things. Did I stop the gun on target? Did I verify alignment? And that's a very deep subject in itself.
Yep.
Did I fire the gun without moving it? I think that's probably some of the best advice I've gotten. Is don't complicate it. Doesn't need to. It's hard. You don't need to complicate it. It's already hard enough.
Yeah. Gordon is on, says, good morning, gentlemen. Coin number 1688 from Ohio. Good morning, Dr. Bodson. Dr. Fuller says, shooting a guy accurately, it's a simple task. Shooting a gun, I think it's a simple task. It's just not easy. And to your point also, Mike, about verify alignment, you said that's a deep topic, and it is. And I think a lot of people hear you and they go, oh, he's talking about the alignment of the sights, but you maybe not necessarily. Can you unpack that just a bit?
So let's once again, I tend to have these next to my desk for our member meetings and all the things that we do, so I can just pick it up and talk about grip in a safe manner. By the way, this is my cert demonstration tool. It's not a firing firearm. I can't show you that it's unloaded because it's not unloadable. So cert demonstration tool. So when we're talking about alignment, you're exactly right, Rich. People often hear alignment. They say, stop the gun on target, verify alignment. So they're thinking, well, that must be the alignment of the front and the rear sight. But focus on the front sight, which we hear from a lot of instructors. No, it simply means that did I verify that the gun is aligned enough to hit the target I'm trying to shoot, right? What does that mean? Well, I mean, literally, the camera that is on my computer right now is about a yard from my face, probably right now, or less. So do I need to see the sights to align it? No. I can just point the gun right at the camera. But if I'm 50 feet back, or if I'm trying to hit maybe the small tip or the claw on the line in the background, well, that takes a different level of alignment with both iron sights and a dot. Alignment may also be literally verifying alignment, in a close quarter position, because now I've indexed the gun on my body. So the bottom line is, when we say verify alignment, there are a lot of different things we do, to verify alignment. And it's, like I said, it's a huge area that can be verified or done in many different ways. Some of it is visual, some of it is feel, some of it is extreme or precise visual input. But the bottom line is, what does it take to verify the gun is aligned on the target you're trying to hit? And no more, and let me say that again, and no more information, because if you take time to get more information, it simply costs you more time. And if you don't need any more information on the gun's alignment, you're wasting time. That's not the problem with most people's shooting solutions, though. The problem is, once we verify alignment, we move the gun, right? We move the gun when we pull the trigger. Or we move the gun when we fire the rifle, or whatever. We move the gun when we fire the shotgun. We move the bow when we fire the bowstring. We move when we fire. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem. And, a lot of we talked about shooting, we talked about instructorship, but at the same time, you're not just a one-dimensional shooter guy. You're more of a self-defense person. Obviously you had the Best Defense, your own TV show with Mr. Mike Janich. And let me ask you this, man, what is the best piece of advice you would give to someone that is new to self-defense?
Oh boy. New to self-defense, join the American Warrior Society, right? Number one. Hey, here's the deal. The real truth is I'm amazed at how many questions we get via email. I get via email, and folks out there that don't understand that to increase that E&E ratio, that body of knowledge, there are entities out there like us, and there's some others out there that are very good as well, where you could you could take a portion of the time you're wasting and start spending it on educating yourself about defending yourself. And then from there, make a decision. I think the single best thing I could tell anyone watching this, from a 16-year-old girl that's going to graduate high school in a couple of years to a 60-year-old grandmother that lives by herself, is make the decision. Make the decision that I'm responsible for me, and I'm going to defend me, and I'm going to do whatever's necessary to defend me. And then the tools and the skill sets and the methods of defense are going to vary based on who you are, where you are, etc. Like my method of self-defense and my choices are going to be different than that 60-year-old grandmother's method of self-defense. But you have to make the choice. Literally, the genesis of the American Warrior Study was me going, hey, it was active after one of the large active shootings. I don't remember which one. And I got with Rich and I said, Rich, I'm going to put all my defensive stuff into one area. I want to open up a website. I want it to be an online portal. And then we're going to add all these other facets of information. And I might make it free. I might just give it away as a free thing. It's like, whoa, slow down, killer. We don't probably want to do that. It's not a good business model for you to make it all free. So then we decided on, some sort of very affordable model, and been trying to lead people to water ever since. And I know the guests, the viewers today, those of you watching right now, you're almost all COIN members. So I'm preaching to the choir here. But how do the 35 or 50 of us right now reach out there to those people that need to change their E&E ratio, right? To become COIN members? Why not? Why are you not? Maybe you know everything that's on the site. Maybe if you do, cancel your membership by all means. But man, people have to take responsibility. Once you take responsibility, educate yourself and develop the skills. Take classes.
Yeah, you have to take responsibility for it because, guys, there's nobody coming to save you. That's not law enforcement's job to be your personal bodyguard. That job falls to you and you alone.
And then in this day and age, I am absolutely amazed that more people are not flocking. I think people are flocking to it to an extent. Those that are logical and have open minds and open eyes are flocking to a self-defense related mentality. I just taught a class in Sacramento. If you're an alumni from Sacramento, I mean, it was overfull, and I could have had 10 more people in that class. And they're all just like us, folks, guys and gals, young and old. They're all just wanting to shoot their defensive handgun better and be prepared to defend themselves. That mentality is absolutely out there, and we need to foster that mentality and help it grow and give it wings. And, let me get on my soap chair since I'm not in a box right now. I am I think a pretty well-versed instructor, but I'm not as well known as some of the internet heroes out there on Instagram or whatever else, because I spend very little time getting on Instagram and putting the post the day out and entertaining people. I'd rather educate people, instead of doing something stupid and whatever. I don't, forgive me for saying it that way, but we need to facilitate and start to grow this, our sector of the education base of self-defense. Because here's the deal, I might not be there in the store where my family members are the day something bad happens and the active shooter walks in. I hope one of you are, and I hope you're trained, and I hope you're prepared. I hope you're there, because I'm not there for my family because I'm somewhere else at that moment in time. And I hope I'm in the store when something bad happens and your family members are there. And I think if we can facilitate and build that brother and sisterhood, we'll be much better off,
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked a lot about, and being a force multiplier in your community, and how do we create more force multipliers. I was having a conversation on this country road I live on, about a half mile down the road. There's a guy that I get my beef from. His name's, I won't say his whole name, but Ricky. And me and Ricky are talking. He's talking about the day he got his concealed carry permit, and he's like, "Man, Rich, I mean, you could close your eyes and pass the qualification test. It's just ridiculous." And I said, "Yeah, it is ridiculous." And now we've given people that maybe new to firearms that, well, I've got all the state of Tennessee says that I'm good to go. I can strap on a gun and wade into traffic. And it's like, no, man, you may have that piece of paper that says you can carry it, but you're not ready to carry it. If all you can do is barely pass the qualification score. Would you agree with that?
100%. And we have preached this, and we've been poo-pooed on the internet, on the podcast. several times in being the promoter of a high volume, high round count class. Yes, I'm a promoter. Let me say it officially and put it all over the world. I'm a promoter of high volume, high round count classes, because high volume, high round count classes in 2 days is repetitions that if you have a good instructor, they're going to make you do things correctly, and they're going to go through a system of learning, or method of learning that's going to get you ready to go. And the average person, and I'm a firm believer in constitutional carry. Love the fact that we are a constitutional carry state. I'm absolutely a believer in that. But at the same time, let's just say the Constitution gave the right to drive as a freedom, right? Let's say to drive a vehicle, which I guess technically it sort of does. But we still need to train our young ones to drive, whether that's a systematic training process that the state runs and tests, or maybe we do it as the parents. The problem with firearms training is it's not inherently done by parents anymore. Little Jimmy or little Susie doesn't grow up shooting a gun because they have to hunt or they have to defend themselves, and then taking one to school and shooting a 22 on the way home. They don't get any of that education anymore. So the average person tends to buy gimmicks. They're not buying, once again, and here's the deal. Rich and I sell, as you all know watching this, we sell information. We sell training information. We give a lot of it away for free as well. It is the single hardest thing to sell. If Rich and I came up with a gimmick, this is our new yellow piece of paper gimmick. Let me fold it up into it. We call this the diamond fold paper. We'll sell that. We'll sell 1 million of those for $50. People buy gimmicks, and it drives me insane. They do not buy training information. We have to change. I think we have to change that culture. Every single one of us should call that guy, like Rich's buddy down his road, and say, yeah, you could pass the test, but are you ready to fight with a handgun? Are you ready to defend your life and the lives of your family members with a handgun? Because if you're not, that's no different than getting in your car behind the wheel untrained or drunk. Would you give your 13-year-old the keys to your SUV? Think about it. I wouldn't. Not a chance. I just trained 2 16-year-olds to drive. It's horrible, right? So, I don't know.
No, I was looking at I saw a meme yesterday, and I'm like trying to remember what it said, but it shows, I don't know if you can see this. Let's see.
Maybe, yeah.
It shows a guy trying to climb a wall with all this sweet kid on, and a dog's chasing him, and it says, rule number 221, Gucci gear is useless if you're out of shape. And we've talked about, I forget who the guest was that was on one time, Mike, that said, you can't shoot a heart attack in the face. And it doesn't cost anything to get your fat rear end off the couch and get on the ground and do some push-ups, or do a couple dozen shrimps if you're into Brazilian jiu-jitsu, whatever. Most of these things cost you nothing but a little bit of time and effort. The information is out there. But, you and I have talked about it at length. People want to buy some piece of kit. They love it. I don't know what it is about the human experience that makes us want to buy and possess this thing. But buy and possess information, man. It's yours forever. I'm often shocked, Mike, when I ask people, what is the most important piece of EDC or whatever, and they'll say, it's my flashlight or my gun or my whatever. I'm like, for me, it's this. And the more information I can put in there and recall it later, I cross international borders with this. I may not be able to cross international borders with a firearm or a knife or whatever, but they cannot take gravity away from me. They cannot take the physics of how the human body works in concert with mine, like jiu-jitsu. They can't take away all the skills and abilities I've acquired over my 52 years on this planet. Would you concur with that?
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's all about your mind. I've traveled all over. Did a cruise. Did my first cruise that wasn't a military cruise, right? Different than the med float. A couple of years ago, whatever it was, and we always say you're always armed. If you've got some skills or whatever else. I was actually technically armed because I figured out how to get basically a plastic pick blade knife that I wore around my neck the entire time and didn't go off in the metal detector. So, once again, there's a way. We're never unarmed.
No, we're not. TC says, seems like many people who hear you, Mike, can't seem to differentiate between your endorsement of training as the auction of an intelligent, responsible gun owner and the idea of state required training in order to exercise a constitutional right to vastly different issues.
They are. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and people have been like, well, you're pushing training because you run a training company. That's not the reason we're pushing training, folks. And nor am I saying that the state needs to come in and mandate a bunch of other training. Don't misunderstand what we're saying. They shouldn't have to do that, but you should mandate it on yourself. Uh, Alan Kelly says also research instructors and evaluate them. Some internet heroes and those that claim to be instructors are not up to the standards and knowledge to correctly and competently teach. And I agree with that.
100%.
John Jock says, let's see here. My neighbor came to me and asked me about why I have guns, and the only thing that stuck with him about our conversation was the question I asked, what will you do to protect your family when evil comes knocking and the police are minutes away? He now realizes that he is his own best protector.
Yeah, it always amazes me how many people flock to buying a gun as the solution when something bad happens. Like after all the rioting and things right during kind of the middle of the COVID of last year. I mean, gun sales were record highs, specifically in places like California, and where people realized very quickly that their previous voting habits prevented them from buying a gun and having it on them or carrying it in any way, shape, or form, which is so funny to think about that for a second. But that's the greatest question ever. Whoever John Jock just posted that is like, hey, if someone said, why do you have a gun? Why do you have all these guns? Why don't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you? Literally, what are you going to do? And we can go through a series of logical questions and with these people say, okay, have you ever heard of a home invasion? Yes. Okay, you've heard of a home invasion. During the home invasion, was there a forced entry? Did they kick the doors in or break the window and get inside the house? And have you ever heard of home invasions where people were harmed or killed? Yes. So we can't argue that has happened, right? There's not a human out there that would say, no, I've never heard of a home invasion. Never heard of someone being brutally beaten or killed in a home invasion. Okay, so if you know that happens, then when you're sitting on your living room chair and your door gets kicked in, what are you going to do? And then just stay silent and make them answer and see what their answer is. And maybe they'll say, call the police. If they do, I think in their own answer, they're going to see the futility of that, the foolishness of the fact that, oh, really? So they've just kicked your door in. Now you're going to dial 911, and then what? Kind of amazing to me.
Let me take over that for just a second, because when I hear people that are anti-gun, afraid of guns, whatever is driving that prejudice they have against firearms, I'll normally say, so in the event of, to your point, Mike, a home invasion, your solution, because you won't have a gun in the house, right? And they'll be like, no, of course not. Okay, I got it. What do you want that law enforcement officer who's going to arrive, right? You called him. He may be late, but he's going to come. Would you rather him bring a firearm or a bouquet of flowers?
Right.
And of course, and like you said, Mike, shut up, sit back and wait. And of course, they're going to say, well, a firearm, and preferably some other police friends with firearms. Okay, good. So the problem then, we agree, is not that you have a problem with firearms. It's the firearms in the right hands. Okay, well, yeah. Then why not your hands?
Right.
You trust them. You trust yourself more than I hope you would some random police officer. Let's welcome some folks on. Jeff, our good friend and my brother, and perhaps our brother, Jeff Brown, says, if you sold a bottle of water and said it would make you a better shooter overnight, you'd be a millionaire. That's the truth.
That's right. That's my new system. The Seeklander water shooting flavored water system. It will make you a better shooter overnight, folks.
Guile says, good morning, Rich. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, folks. Of course, sorry I'm late. Guile, I know in the Philippines where you're at, it's a different time zone, man. I hope you're staying safe over there. Mike Varley says, knowledge doesn't add any weight or take up space in your bag. Wow, it spot on.
Well said.
John says, Richard and Michael. Let's see here. So we talked a little bit about mindset, and we might as well go ahead and dig into it at this point, Mike. Tell us about the role that mindset plays in what you do and maybe how to create it and maintain it.
Mindset. Mindset is the key to a lot of things, but it's so easy to talk about. I think that's the problem I have with a lot of these things. It's so easy to get on a live stream, Facebook Live, podcast, TV show, and talk about mindset, but the actual act of developing mindset is horrible. It sucks in every way, shape, or form because it's going to include some sort of penalty, pain penalty, maybe with some blood, pain penalty in terms of sweat, pain penalty in terms of being sore and or having a sore joint or whatever from running or lifting or fighting or striking or whatever else. The pain penalty of taking the critique of an instructor, the critique of a peer that tells you're not doing that right, you're doing it wrong, that you actually are not good at that at all. You thought you were really good at it, but you're not. And so mindset is I think the key to everything. It has to be because your mind guides your actions. Developing mindset, however, though, is nothing fun in most cases. So it has to be something that you embrace and understand that I'm going to develop mindset. You talked to Rich about the last group or one of the groups, how you are kind of claustrophobic. And one of the things about jiu-jitsu is you realized being in that close space, you get to relax. And I go to this morning class more often than not when I'm in town training, and I train with some animals. These guys are just animals. They're the better guys in our gym. It's a very, very small group, and it's very, very hard. And I often find myself in a position where I'm physically injured or hurt and getting my neck cranked and leaving, and I got an abrasion or a bruise, and I'm sweating and just beat up. And it's like, this looks so cool on Instagram, but it's nothing cool about it. It sucks. So embrace mindset is literally the key to your success. Because if things go really, really, really wrong, that's the one thing you're going to have is the time you spend developing that mindset.
Yeah, I think, of course, whoever said it is a genius. Mindset is not a verb. If you can't mindset your way off the couch and get to the dojo, what in the hell makes you think you're going to be able to mindset your way off your ground in a parking lot? It's not going to happen. Yeah. And I'm talking to all you mama bear and papa bears out there that think you're going to rise to the occasion if and when your family is threatened. You're going to fall to whatever level of training you have. That's either going to be a great thing or a bad thing for you. But your mind is like you said, Mike, it's going to carry you through that. And another part of mindset is not just the winning part, which is obviously incredibly important, but it's also the surviving the aftermath, right?
Yeah, it is. And, I'm kind of self-reflecting here. We talk about this a lot in terms of sometimes we're so immersed in this stuff. We run the American Warrior Society, American Warrior Show podcast, defensive, shooting, fighting, tactical, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my gosh, that's all we're focused on. So everything feels that way. And, part of me kind of, I want to make sure I word this right. Part of me kind of respects or to an extent wishes I could live in a world for just a moment in time that are like some of these people that are going through life just peacefully, happy, completely unaware because nothing bad has never happened to them, and they're peace. They're not warlike at all. They're not like me. I was probably born warlike because I think they would just feel so light and so free and so happy. But guess what, folks? We live on the planet Earth. So on the planet Earth, ever since any of the history I've ever studied, that doesn't exist in this planet, on this world. Will it exist in the future? Maybe. I don't know. But I kind of, I don't know. I've always kind of wanted to I met a person the other day, a friend of one of my kids, and the person is, very small, feeble, weak. And I'm not poo-pooing on anybody that's small and feeble. I'm going to be in another 10, 15 years. We all are. Eventually we'll get there. But I'm like, what would that be like just to be that unaware and peacefully happy that you can just go through life with these blinders on? I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling here, but I think as a culture, with the American Warrior Society, we use the term like-minded individuals. That's a key phrase. If you've never heard that before in our intros or podcasts, like-minded individuals was a key phrase because we understand that we do live on the planet Earth and that our self-defense has to be a priority, right? Because I hate to say it, folks, there's lots of bad things on the planet. So we need like-minded individuals. We can't go through the world with blinders on. Can't do it.
Yeah, there's a really interesting documentary. It took me forever to find it. I think it's finally up on YouTube now. It's from 1963, and the name of it is Dead Birds. And what it is about is this anthropologist that goes into Papua New Guinea, and he follows this tribe for like a season. And it is an interesting thing because it shows the natural state of man in a Stone Age community. And we're never going to see this again. And it shows just constant warfare that these people live on. And that is the constant state of man, before the age of industrialization. That's how you are probably going to die at the hands of another human being. You're 30 something percent likely to die by another human being. And so while we in a modern society may not have that same fear, we do have predators out there, and the fear of predation, whether they want your watch, your wallet, your phone, or they want to physically assault you or sexually assault you. That fear is constant no matter where you go. I guess the question is, what do you do with that fear? Do you use it to empower you, like we encourage our viewers and listeners to do, empower you to get out there and train, empower you with knowledge, or you let it, ruin your life? I don't know.
I don't know either, man. I don't know. I mean, we're being pretty honest on this show. I think a lot of us right now, everybody watching probably, and us, maybe, like I said, sometimes I wonder if we're too close to it, but then I step back and say, no, we have to be close to it because it is it. I mean, Mike Janich on some of our shows always had a great phrase or statement that, once someone comes out and punches you in the face or jabs that knife into you the first time, and you're a fool to waste any mental energy going, why did they do that? Why did they stab me? Why are they pointing? Doesn't matter why. What matters is they're doing that now. What matters is you take that mental energy now and devote it toward solving the problem, defending yourself. And if you haven't done some sort of repetitive practice, good luck with that. And I think that's what I think when I look at all these people that are just kind of walking through life with blinders on. I wrote an article a long time ago about it. In terms of us offering training and selling training, years ago, during that same period of time, I actually gave away my defensive handgun training program. I'm like, I called it the Force Multiplier Challenge. I gave it away. It was a free link. I mean, I wasn't even collecting email addresses to send a follow-up at that point in time. I was just giving it away as a free PDF linked on my website. It was on the homepage. And, so I think we've given away probably almost as much as we've earned, maybe. I know on my Facebook Lives before I stopped them because of schedule, Rich, I did a Facebook Live 3 days a week or even 5 days a week for years. I know some of the viewers on right now are on those Facebook Lives. They're here because of that. And like I said, all I would ask anyone to do is please be prepared, take responsibility, and most importantly, tell someone else. Grab someone else and mentor them or help them or introduce them. Maybe not to my stuff, just do it to someone else's stuff. If you have a better system out there, I don't care. But take one person that's walking through life with blinders on. Take one person today and then change your life. You might save their life.
Oh. And, we've had Manhar, who's watching this morning from South Africa, when they went through the horrific riots that they did in his country. He found out really quick who were the people in his neighborhood that he could rely on when literally thousands upon thousands of rioters and looters were coming for his neighborhood, and they were leaving a trail of ash in their wake. Now, we've seen some pretty bad stuff here this last year. I think we're going to see more things as time goes on. I do not see things getting much better, which actually leads me to my next question. And that is, Mike, where's all this lawlessness going, man?
That's a great question. I think if you logically look at the things that have happened over the last few years, in the future, there are the unpredictables. That means the next something happens in law enforcement or the community that inflames people. because I'm not sure if people are still in a state of inflammation like they were last year, but I suspect they are because we're still going through a lot of the same stuff. Number two, and I know you've had a bunch of financial shows. I know Will's going to come back on and talk about that. I just don't see us avoiding some sort of financial penalty for the way the government has been ran for years now. And I'm not just pointing the finger at Mr. Biden. I'm talking about pretty much all presidents across the board over the last 3 or 4 or 5 cycles have made some huge mistakes, right? I think we have to pay a price for that. If you look at places like Sacramento and even here, the homeless community is growing at a cyclic rate. It's almost crazy. So there's an element of society out there that may predate or be predators on us. I just think we're going to continue to see a trend, at least for the next 5 or 10 years, of increased probably crime, increased violence, the possibility of some sort of event inflamed by something that I can't predict happening. I think there might be a correction eventually, but I think, if we're on a peak with COVID and everything that's happened, this is where we're going right now, right? Eventually it'll correct, but I don't know. I would suspect it's going to be down the road, 2050.
Yeah. And Tony says, the Rittenhouse, Kyle Rittenhouse trial starts today as to something that could kick off another round of riots, because I believe Kyle may get off. The McMichael's trial down in Georgia is fixing to start for the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. And this is something we talked about last year, Mike, and that is this idea that things could get bad when these people start getting acquitted, because the legal justification for bringing a lot of these things to court were really slim. And I think the trials maybe were something that just to stop the rioting at the time, to bring charges against certain people that eventually will walk.
Certainly possible. Absolutely possible. I can't predict the event in the future, but I think we're going to probably see some additional events like that taking place. You're muted.
Of course I'm muted, man. That's something I do.
Oh.
Hey, so given the state of the union that we talked a little bit about, what can viewers do to make themselves harder to kill, more resilient, wherever you want to take that?
Man, I mean, I'm not going to belabor that one. I think it's covered on every one of the shows. I think that everything we offer will allow the end user to do those things. Take a critical look at yourself. Number one, Rich said earlier, you can't shoot a heart attack in the face. So what are you individually strong at? What are you weak at? Look at your E versus E ratio. What's your entertainment versus your education ratio in terms of self-defense? And if your entertainment ratio of junk is way up here and bigger, then adjust that ratio in itself and, take responsibility. We literally said this many, many years ago when we developed our entity. Take responsibility for your own self-defense, surround yourself with like-minded individuals. That's it. If you do those two things, the preparation, training, classes, dry firing, whatever, that will happen. That's going to be part of the process. I think the viewers on this show, or listeners later on, if we put this out as a podcast, could probably be self-critical in the things that they're not strong at, that they don't like to do. You're probably, oh man, I can't wait to go to the range and shoot my gun, but I've never been on the mats. I know Mike and Rich talk about it all the time. I'm just kind of afraid of it, and there's not a great place, or I don't want to drive far enough, or I don't want to get sweaty, or it scares me, or I don't like fitness. I just don't like to run. Then don't run. Power lift. I don't care. Buy a bob. Work your strikes. Be self-critical. We all have things we can improve upon. Every single one of us. I have bad habits. Rich has bad habits. So look at a couple of your bad habits and start to fix those bad habits. And like I said, if I could challenge anybody out there to do one thing, I would challenge you all to touch one person this week. Let's set an easy goal. This week, touch one person in some manner where you're helping them become safer. Hey, have you ever thought about doing this? Well, here's some free resources for you to do that. I think the key is our community, our society. I think that's the key. And the stronger our society is, the more likely that I'm going to bump into someone just like you out there that's willing to help me or my family, or I'm willing to help your family. And I think that's the key. And I want more of us out there.
Yeah, Skip says, I've been here since day one, won a sweet precision holsters, and became personal friends with Bob. Learned lots and much appreciated. Manuel says, walk every day. It's what humans were built to do. Start there. That's solid advice.
I agree, Manuel. That's a great advice.
Yeah. And yeah. So what is your current EDC, Mike?
Right now I'm carrying a Wilson Combat X9, and I also have a second compact handgun, Wilson Combat CQB 9mm, both compact, lightweight 9mm handguns. I carry 10 rounds in the gun, a spare 10-round magazine, Spyderco wave ground opening knife that Mr. Mike Janich cut for me and ground the wave opener, and a Surefire stiletto flashlight. I am probably going to start carrying an SFX9. If you were on my Instagram page, probably saw my post about that gun the other day. They came down and I got to shoot it as a demo gun for some videos. I think they're on YouTube right now, so you can look up SFX9. That little gun is fantastic. I know you're saying, oh, we all can't afford Wilson Combats. Okay, I'm fine. Cool, don't. That's fine. Look at some other options out there. I'm just telling you what I love and I have the ability to shoot and have, because I'm very fortunate. So that's my carry.
And what are the in the position of carry? Talk to us about that. And the reason I bring it up is some people say it doesn't matter carry where you carry. Some people say, no, this is the right way, wrong way. Where do you carry and why, Mike?
I carry in the appendix position. First of all, let me make this statement. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to carry. Individual carry is about you. So I would, if I were to suggest a carry position for people, I want you to carry in a place that you'll carry 100% of the time, that's as hidden or concealable as possible, because I think a hidden firearm is probably a smart way to carry. And I don't want you to identify your carry-in, and accessible as quickly as possible. If it meets those criteria, I'm happy. And the appendix position gives me a lot of different things. I love my ability to access a firearm from a seated position, specifically in a car. I like the fact that my appendix position is concealable and it's not printing. For example, when I'm bending over in a restaurant, I'm not printing with that strong side holster. That said, I'm not opposed to strong side holsters either, and I've carried strong side. I'm not a fan of ankle type carries, pocket type carries, shoulder holster carries, not because any of them are bad, but they're not as accessible, and there are enough downsides that I choose not to. Some of you may choose to. Once again, your carry method has to be right for you. If you carry appendix, I'm personally not a fan of a striker fire type system in the appendix, not because it's wrong. I know lots of elite level operators that are carrying appendix with Glocks or striker fire type pistolas. It's just, I'm not as comfortable with it. Kind of agree with Ernest Langdon on that one in terms of maybe a double action first shot or a striker fired pistol with a manual safety. So if I carried a striker fired gun, I would probably carry a manual safetied 320 or whatever variant, maybe a Smith & Wesson M&P line, if I didn't have the luxury of carrying a Wilson Combat handgun. Last but not least, and maybe I've gone too far already, Rich.
No.
I carry a 1911. Why? Because I stick to the family of guns that I shoot the most. I shoot a 1911 in competition, 30,000 rounds plus a year. Why would I not carry a 1911? And it gives me two manual safeties in a position where I love the fact that I have a manual safety on a firearm. Technically, unless something breaks, it physically can't fire. So.
Yeah, well said. Thinking to the 33 folks that are still on with us, Dr. Bodson says people have become so isolated, even before COVID, the community needs to be rebuilt and supported. Hear, hear.
I couldn't agree more. I think the COVID and masks, and I'm not a masker and I'm a non-vaxxer or vice versa. You be whoever you want to be, folks. But I think we have had a separation, and we also have a separation because this is humans now. This is human interaction, right? Sorry, human interaction, right? This is not a human. It's a phone. That's all it is. You got to interact with actual live humans. I think we're missing some of that. And here's the scary thing, and I'm preaching to the choir on this show as well. What are your kids doing, or what are our kids going to be doing? Look at the culture now. First of all, I have not seen a kid, let's say 23 and below. that doesn't have something stuck in their earbuds. They're literally listening to something constantly or watching YouTube. I'm scared to death for the future of, I don't know what we've created with all these electronic devices. And I love my phone. Rich and I, we all have phones. I don't know. I think that comment about COVID and us failing to connect or not connecting as much as we should is an issue. I wish I could, and I would shut our business down. I wish I could shut the internet down for about a week, just to let humans reconnect. I wouldn't want airplanes to fall or nothing bad to happen, but if we could do it with no harm, let's shut the internet off for a whole week. We would change the planet.
Yeah, people would freak out.
Yeah.
They would. Manuel says your stuff is the most important real-time information available in the world today, period. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Wow, that's awesome.
John says SFX9 is basically an EDC X9, right?
So an SFX9, so an EDC X9 is a larger grip, and it has the grip panels. The SFX9, they redeveloped the grip itself, so there's no grip panels. So it's thinner. It's got trust me, I begged them to give me that gun. They wouldn't do it. They're building me one. If I had it, I will show it to you. I'll come back on Coffee with Rich and show you some cool guns if you want. We'll talk guns. Because everyone wants to talk guns and gear. I'll have a room full of guns if you want. But it's thinner, has a very unique aggressiveness. The grip, it not so aggressive you couldn't carry it. I'm not sure who answered that question or asked that question. It feels different in your hand. I loved everything about it, and it's hard to impress me.
John says, Mike, do you prefer irons or optics?
Great question. For what is the question? Depends. So I think in 5 years, I made a prediction on that video, actually. I said in 5 years, we'll see predominantly optics on handguns. I don't know if I have a preference either way. Sorry, guys, I have to say my wife a message. And I'm texting as I'm on live stream. So, if you are going to carry optics, here's the deal. People say, I'm going to carry optics because my vision is declining. It's easier to aim the handgun, but I'm not committed to dry firing or handling the gun or shooting it enough. And you don't have to shoot a gun a lot to learn an optic. All you have to do, of course, these don't have optics, is put the gun in front of your face. Learn the angle and learn the position. Put the gun in front of your face. Right? Put the gun in front of your face. You spend 10 minutes a day doing that, and you want to carry an optic that's reliable with backup iron sights, boom, do it. Go for it. Strongly recommend it. I think it's a great option, but you have to spend the time presenting the handgun. The problem is that people grab these optic-sighted defensive pistols, and they don't spend the time presenting the handgun like they should, and then I put them in a situation where transfer the gun to your support hand and fire 2 shots, and they cannot find the dot, right? So I think it's a solution as long as you're logically going through the process of training and having your gear set up right. I don't think a carry gun has any business having an optic on it without some sort of backup sighting system, or at least maybe a tall front sight, and you having practiced what it looks like to center the front sight in the center of the window of the optic and being able to get a decent hit at distances we may have to defend ourselves at. So that's my thought on optics.
Yeah. Guile in the Philippines says, it's because of Mike I learned how to carry my firearm. I've been doing it ever since. And on that note, it always amazes me and humbles me when I see, we have members in Russia. We have members who are cops in London, England. We have members in South Africa, Israel, all across South America. And I don't think that's something that when you and I started the American Warrior Society, we saw that the reach of this community could be what it has become globally. And we just need to keep growing it, folks, because like Amanda just says, she says, I love that you guys talk about community. Great stuff as always, Mike and Rich. So thank you, Amanda, for that.
I think we're going to rebrand as the World Warrior Society.
There you go.
How about that?
Jared says, I have people ridicule me for carrying my M&P with a manual safety.
Of course they do. Of course they ridicule you, Jared, because they don't know anything about shooting. They don't realize that a manual safety can be wiped off and on so fast. And to be honest with you, it probably establishes a better strong hand grip because you have something to put your thumb on top of and leverage down. But let the non-shooters make fun of you. Just outshoot them.
That's right. Jason, our good friend Jason Brown says, I'm about to shut my internet off. I think you're right.
Boom.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Tony says, shut the internet down. I have ham radio and talk around the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Um,
speaking of shutting the internet down, there's a system wireless system you can buy called Amplify. This is my Amplify. You can't see much of it, but I could go into my devices and shut all my kids' internet down. The internet shuts down at a certain time at night, so you can see exactly what devices are on and what devices are off. Not that that matters a lot now because they have phone with cell service, which is another trick in itself to try to figure that out. But for those of you that have kids, maybe the 6-year-olds to 13, 15-year-olds, you want to control their internet a little bit. And you should have internet-free days, in my opinion. We don't do a great job of that in my household. I'd like to do more of that. But, when we do, when we go to the mountains or maybe go to the lake, we have internet-free times. It just changes and connects everybody again. So.
Yes. Jared says, I love red dots, but I can't keep them clean when working outdoors on the property.
Well, yeah, good point. And that's an issue. Red dot, especially not a fully enclosed red dot, a red dot that has, that open emitter, that may get rain or water or whatever else. That is absolutely an issue. Like I said, I'm a fan. I don't have it in here. I could get it if we went on break. But, I have one of my Wilson Combat EDCs with a red dot on it with definitive backup iron sights. I will not carry one that doesn't have a decent set of backup iron sights that I could find in the lower area of the optic very, very quickly. And I recommend you train that way as well. Take a little piece of tape, put it over your emitter if you can get inside your optic, and just tape it off for a day and shoot with it and, use those sights.
So let me ask you this, Mike. What is the future of shooting performance, specifically that, not necessarily the American Warrior Society, but shooting performance is the training piece where you go around and teach folks. What is the future of that for your company?
Boy, I don't know, Rich. That's a great question. So this year, COVID last year did not really affect me aside from moving the classes, sliding most of them to the tail end of the year. They all filled. We had a COVID policy we followed. I taught normal. Students showed up. Everybody was safe, I believe. Nobody got sick. It was fine. Transcend into this year, and ammo became an issue, and we had to cancel several classes because of ammo. A bunch of classes still filled up. A bunch of classes were full. Huge group on the East Coast, a couple of them. Huge groups on the West Coast, the Sacramento area, Sac Valley area. So I think this year, I don't know. Time will tell. I'm going to build a normal schedule for next year. I do believe we're going to teach more FIDCs and promote that program. There may be an actual online version of the FIDC that Rich and I will be putting together this winter potentially. So if you're interested in the Firearms Instructor Development course, now is the time to get into that. I will teach my standard series of classes. I've had a bunch of requests for the online classes again. So I probably will schedule and put out a winter online defensive handgun program and competition handgun program. If you're not a fan of travel and you want to spend a lot less ammo and get the training bite by bite, I would strongly suggest you look at those online classes. I think some of the people watching maybe have taken the online class. I'm not positive, but the feedback I get in our members areas is fantastic. Like they loved it. They want to retake the class. So if you see me pop up with an online class and send out an email or promote it, and you're like, I wonder if online works, trust me, it does. You'll be very surprised and impressed. So I might throw some more online stuff up there for some winter cycles and go from there.
Yeah, and Manuel says, I can facilitate you in Central Florida. Dr. Bodson says, please come to the Northeast Ohio. If someone did want to bring you out, Mike, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so right now, just if you want to just drop an email to the helpline, help@shooting-performance.com. I will come up with I used to have a form you fill out. I still do. If you go to my website, there's a form. It's actually a Google form. I need to go through those requests. If you want a class, reach out to us. You got to help us fill it, though. You can't just think you can fill it. You got to kind of know you can fill it or do a good job. Like I said, I really think we're going to take the FIDC on the road next year. That's going to be a predominant program we're going to teach a lot more of because we're getting so many requests. It's such an intellectual program. It's a lower volume shooting program, so you're not going to spend a huge chunk of your ammo, even though I think ammo is coming back around, folks. So when it does, set buy 2 cases for your training ammo over the next couple of years. At least a case per year should get you through any class you're going to take. But if you want a class, drop help@shooting-performance. We can put that in the comments, someone, and send me an email. And the next month, I'll be scheduling classes all over the U.S.
Yeah. And David Garrett, our good friend, he says the online program works great. And
David has taken both. David is one of the several that have taken both the range version and the online version. And they, across the board, they did not like the range version. It's always fun to get together and shoot, but across the board, the alumni of the online programs have said, wow, this is probably as good or better for me than doing the range class where I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just so those that don't know, I mean, there's that, but there's also, if you're a member of the American Warrior Society or the American Competitive Shooting Society, which is another entity that you own, Mike, Thursday nights, if we're available, we'll sit down with you and you can ask questions. It's a Zoom coaching session that is free and available to those that are COIN members. Jesse says, the FIDC was an amazing class. I would gladly take it again. I learned a lot about how to teach. Jason says, all of your classes or any of them indoor range compatible?
All of them. I did I've done a competition and defensive rifle class in an indoor range on the East Coast several times. We would need an open area, although I could train on lanes with the shooters, but I would have to really be able to seamlessly see the shooters. But if we had an open area where, let's say, you could have maybe 10 people, can't see my hand, sorry, 10 people spread out and 2 relays, I can facilitate any class in indoor range, assuming it's got good ventilation, everybody's safe, can't breathe a bunch of lead for 2 days, and all that basic stuff. But yes, an indoor range is absolutely a possibility.
And we'll start to close this out, Mike. We've been on for an hour and a half. Amanda says, yes, the FIDC should be the standard program that instructors attend. Thank you, Amanda, for that really good endorsement.
Agree. Thank you, Amanda. She's right.
Okay, Mike, anything else before we close out today's show?
No, that's it, folks. I hope everybody's having a great fall. I think Will mentioned it. The Bigger Circle series is out. That's the video series I did with Mr. Rob Latham. It's fantastic instruction. I'm getting hugely great reviews on it. Please check it out. I only have one more class this year. That is the Bigger Circle class in Arizona. So if you want to come and have an incredible time, it's a low volume. We don't shoot a ton, and you can adjust your ammo count. There's still about 6 or 7 slots in, and that's it. It'll fill probably this week. So sign up if you're interested at all in doing that. Rich and I have some, I think, interesting things coming soon. We've talked a lot about putting the FIDC together in an online format so you could learn from the comfort of your own home. I'm telling you, that program will blow your expectations out of the water. So look for that on Facebook and my website and the American Warrior Society website. We'll put it everywhere when we come out with it. And like I said, if you want a class, if you're serious about it, drop me a line and we'll start setting that up.
All right, Mike, thanks for being on the show, brother. And thank you for everyone. They got 36 people that are still hanging with us this morning. Thank you to all those that will watch on the Coffee with Rich YouTube channel or listen to us on a podcast in the future. Mike, you want to take us out?
Yeah, folks, just remember, always remember, the fight is coming. Be ready.